Page 60 continued. Textual questions and answers. Question 24. Who were the Amazons? In what way are they connected with the play A Midsummer Night's Dream? Answer. Hippolyta was the queen of the Amazons. The Amazons were originally nymphs, NYMPHs, attending as hunting women on Artemis and dwelt on the southern shore of the Black Sea. They were reputed for their boldness and horsemanship and fought warriors such as Hercules, Achilles, and Theseus. On the occasion of an attack made by them on Actica, Actica, their queen, Hippolyta was conquered by Theseus, who later won her love too. Quote line 1. Hippolyta, I wooed thee with my sword, Line 2. And won thy love, doing thee injuries, stop unquote, para. The occasion of the wedding of Theseus and the Queen of Amazons forms the framework of A Midsummer Night's Dream. It is the marriage of Theseus and Hippolyta, page 61, round which other episodes revolve. Oberon has come from the quote, farthest steep of India, unquote, only to supervise the marriage of Theseus and Hippolyta and to give their bed joy and prosperity. Titania has had her affair with Theseus, whom she led through the glittering night from Periguna, and also made him break his faith with fair angels, with Ariadne and Antiopa, and she too will stay in Athens, perchance till after Theseus's wedding day. Roman 2I, 1I. The Athenian mechanics have gathered only to contribute their share to the entertainments that celebrate the marriage of the Duke and Hippolyta. It is Oberon who sends Puck, the mischievous fairy, to bring love juice, originally for punishing Titania, who refuses to yield up the changeling boy. Then Oberon notices how cruelly Demetrius treats his former sweetheart. He asks Puck to apply the love juice to the eyes of Demetrius. This love juice is by mistake applied to Lysander, and this causes the love entanglements. Thus, all the episodes of the play are connected with the marriage of Theseus and Hippolyta, which is the background as well as the center of the play. Lysander and Hermia fly to the wood because of Theseus's strict adherence to the law of Athens, which barred the marriage of Lysander and Hermia in defiance of father of Hermia. They become victims of love entanglements. Question 25. What blunder is made in connection with the love juice and with what immediate result? Answer. Towards the end of the first scene of the second act, Oberon tells Puck that, quote, a sweet Athenian lady is in love with a disdainful youth, unquote, and asks him to anoint the disdainful youth's eyes with love juice in such a manner that the next thing he spies may be the lady. Oberon meant Demetrius, who cruelly treats Helena. Puck by mistake applies the love juice to the eyes of Lysander, whom he finds sleeping with Hermia in the wood. He mistakes him to be the disdainful youth to whom Oberon refers to. Then Demetrius comes followed by Helena and disappears after asking her not to haunt him like this. Helena, bewailing her fate, notices Lysander sleeping on the ground and wakes him up. Thus, Lysander sets his eyes upon Helena for the first time under the influence of the magic juice and becomes forthwith enamored of her and starts making love to her. The immediate result is that Helena is puzzled and she says, colon, quote, line 1, do not say so, comma, Lysander, comma, say not so, comma, dot, dot, dot. Line 2, yet Hermia still loves you, comma, then he be content, unquote. Stop, para. Lysander still persists in his protestation of love and in his denunciation of Hermia, and Helena takes it as an insulting mockery towards her and leaves the stage cursing herself, colon, quote. Line 1. Oh, that a lady, comma, of one man refused. Line 2. Should of another therefore be abused, stop, unquote. Lysander, now thoroughly infatuous, deserts the sleeping Hermia and runs after Helena. On the other hand, Hermia wakes up and, not finding Lysander near about, resolves either to find him or to die instead. Question 26. Give an account of what is known as Oberon's vision. Stop. What interpretation have been offered for the allegory contained in it? Answer. Before sending Puck in search of the magic flower called Love in Idleness, Oberon tells him how he had a vision once and came to know of this flower and its extraordinary properties. Page 62. Once he was sitting on a promontory and heard a mermaid singing very sweet notes on a dolphin's back. The notes were so sweet that even the rough sea grew calm and the stars came out of their orbits to hear them. Cupid, armed with his bow and arrow, appeared before the earth, and the moon, deliberately aimed at a virgin, vowed to maidenhood. The arrow, however, could not hit her, and she remained unaffected, but it fell upon a little pansy that flourished in the west, where upon the flower, which had been milk white before, became purple with love's wound, and it came to be known to young maidens as, quote, love in idleness, unquote, stop, para. The allegory contained in Oberon's vision has been variously interpreted. Some of the interpretations are ingenious. In one interpretation, the mermaid is said to stand for Mary, Queen of Scots, and the dolphin for a husband, the Dauphin of France. The root C represents Scotland, which was in a state of disorder until the arrival of the Queen in 1561, and the stars which shot madly from their spheres refer to the Earls of Northumberland and Westmoreland, who fell in the plots against Elizabeth, and to the Duke of Norfolk, Norfolk, whom she was to marry. This interpretation, put forward by Warburton, Warburtn, has not been accepted by many scholars seriously, Verity being one of them. Para. Another interpretation of Oberon's vision supposes the allegory to refer to the festivities which took place when the Earl of Leicester entertained Queen Elizabeth at Kenilworth in 1575. According to this interpretation, Cupid represents the Earl whose love shafts were useless against the chastity of the Queen, quote, quenched in the chaste beams of the watery moon, unquote. The earth represents Lady Douglas, Countess of Sheffield, to whom the Earl was supposed to be married, semicolon, and, quote, the little western flower is Lettice, Knollys, Countess of Essex, who afterwards married the Earl of Leicester, stop. The dolphin uttering, quote, dulcet and harmonious breath, unquote, stands for the image of a dolphin which figured in the festivities at Kenilworth, and the stars are the fireworks which were also an item in the entertainment. Para, quote, the fair vestal throned by the west, unquote, and the imperial votaress undoubtedly refer to Queen Elizabeth. Question 27. Describe the quarrel between Hermia and Helena, stating briefly the circumstances that originated it and the measures adopted to end it. Para. Answer. When Hermia woke up from her sleep, she found herself alone and wandered about in the wood in search of Lysander. She met Demetrius once, tried to have some news of her lover from him, and failing in that, managed to get away from his professions of love. When she appeared again, she found both Lysander and Demetrius, the latter now under the influence of the magic love juice, trying to win Helena's favors. She was as much puzzled as Helena and could not understand the real significance of Helena's passionate reference to their former intimacy. She tried to calm the atmosphere now by appealing to Lysander not to scorn Helena with his show of love, now by actually clinging to him in order to prevent him from fighting Demetrius. But it dawned upon her that perhaps Lysander was in earnest when he deserted her sleeping alone in the wood, and was confirmed in her suspicion when Lysander said, colon, quote, line 1, "This is no jest." Line 2, "That I do hate thee, comma, and love Helena," stop, unquote. Page 63, para. Then she lost control over herself and turning round to Helena called her, quote, "You juggler, exclamation mark, your canker blossom, exclamation mark, you thief of love, exclamation mark, unquote, and accused her of stealing Lysander's heart. Helena too retorted by saying, colon, line 1, quote, "What will you tear?" Line 2, "Impatient answers from any gentle tongue, question mark." Line 3, "Fie, comma, fie your counterfeit, comma." Line 4, "You puppet, you," unquote, stop. Thus they went on quarrelling and calling each other names. Lysander and Demetrius went away to fight their duel, and Helena left the place too, and Hermia's, quote, "hands than mine are quicker for a fray," unquote, stop. Hermia, still wondering what it was all about, followed her, para. Oberon, who along with Puck had been watching the whole scene, took the latter to task for his mistaking Lysander for Demetrius. He then suggests the steps to remedy the present confusing situation. Puck was to hurry up and overcast the night with drooping fog and lead the two rivals away from each other so that they could not come close for a fight. For this purpose he was to make them so much fatigued that they would fall soundly asleep at different places. Oberon also gave Puck a special kind of herb which was to be crushed into the sleeping eyes of Lysander, whereupon he would be rid of the influence of the love juice, comma, and the resulting error, semicolon. So, quote, "When they next awake, comma, all this derision shall seem a dream and fruitless vision, and back to Athens shall the lovers wend," unquote, stop. Page, stop. Question 28. Describe Bottom's conduct among the fairies, stop. What aspects of his character are revealed in the fairy land? Answer. The way Bottom conducts himself among the fairies, including their queen, reveals some of the most significant features of his character, that is, his self-assurance and his practical resourcefulness. He is quite at home everywhere. Any other man, particularly of Bottom's status, would either been confused or have lost his head with inordinate pride. But Bottom is equal to all occasions. His bearing carries him triumphantly through all situations. His imperturbability in all situations, however strange and novel, turns it into high comedy. The contrast between the situation which would discomfit him and the fact that he is not discomfited is comic. He has courage and confidence. He catches no panic from his terrified companions with the fairy grooms. He is admirably courteous. He knows how to keep his head cool in the arms of the queen of the fairies, surrounded by her own elfin attendants eager to execute his most whimsical orders. We see him for the first time among the fairies in the first scene of Act 3. Titania wakes up and sees him, and his ass's head, notwithstanding, falls deeply in love with him. Bottom is not at all taken by surprise for his outburst of love from the queen of the fairies, but coolly replies, quote, "Methinks, mistress, you should have little reason for that, and to say the truth, reason and love keep liable company together nowadays," stop unquote. He then accepts Titania's love as if he has all along been used to such affections, and when the 4 attendants approach him, he speaks to them in a kindly, true desiring their great acquaintance. Para. We see him again in the first scene of Act 4. Now he is as sure of himself as ever, and has become quite accustomed to the company of the fairies and their queen. He does not care to be specially attentive to the queen, who tries her best to please him. He goes page 64, on ordering the 4 attendants and detailing them to a particular duty each. He has already accommodated himself all too readily to his novel position, and is not hesitant to find suitable occupations for the spirits of whose existence he was not even aware only a short while ago. Question 29. Enumerate the various forms of entertainment offered by Philostrate to the Duke with his comments on each. Answer. The first item offered by Philostrate is the battle with the centaurs, to be sung by an Athenian eunuch to the harp, unquote, stop. The Duke says that the story, which is about the exploits of his noble kinsman Hercules, has already been narrated by him to his sweetheart Hippolyta. Para. The second is the, quote, riot of Lipsy Bacchanals, BWCHNLs, tearing the Thracian singer in their rage, unquote, stop. About this, Theseus says that it is an old story already heard by him when he returned after conquering Thebes. Para. The third is, quote, the thrice 3 muses mourning for the death of learning, late deceased in beggary, stop. The Duke rejects it as unsuitable for a wedding ceremony, stop. Para. The fourth and last is a tedious and brief scene of young Pyramus and his love Thisbe, very tragical mirth. The Duke is intrigued by the little, and says that the thing must be something like a combination of hot eyes and wondrous strange show, and becomes eager to find the concord of this discord. Question 30. Write a note on Shakespeare's views as expressed by Theseus on dramatist and dramatic performance. Answer. Theseus's comment on the acting of Bottom and his fellows may be accepted as an interpretation of Shakespeare's views on the whole play. Para, quote, the best in this kind are but shadows, and the worst are no worse if imagination amend them, unquote. Roman V.I. 205-6. Theseus appreciates the role of imagination is active. With its power of emendation, even shadows will be endowed with life, but fundamentally they will remain shadows, and this interplay between the real and the shadows is the substance of comedy. Dr. Sengupta. The views expressed before and during the play of the interlude may be summarized as follows. Para. Even when the actors are incompetent and the play is, quote, stretched and coned with cruel pair, unquote, comma, the performance can never go amiss if it is attended by simplicity and a sense of duty. It is doubtlessly not a pleasant sight to see poor wretches laboring under a task too heavy for them, semicolon. But it is the duty of the audience to make up for the deficiency of the actors and give them thanks for nothing. Where the actors, anxious to show their duty, fail in their efforts and show their lack of imagination, a generous mind accepts the efforts, taking into consideration their capacity as performers rather than the merit of the performance, stop. If these are any deficiencies in their conception and performance, the audience will amend them with their imagination, stop.